You have a biological off switch for bad habits inside your brain right now. Neuroscientists call it long-term depression. And no, that is not a mood disorder. It is the literal neurological depression of a synapse. And it is the only way to actually delete a habit loop, rather than just fighting it. See, you have been failing because you are using the wrong tool. You are using willpower. But biologically, willpower is just a battery. It drains. That is why you stay disciplined all morning but relapse at 8 p.m. The battery is dead. Trying to break a habit with willpower is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. As soon as your muscles fatigue, the habit shoots right back up. We don't want to hold the ball down. We want to pop it. We know how to build muscle. You exercise. We know how to learn skills. You repeat them. But how do you unlearn? How do you physically access the brain's command line and hit the delete key? You have to trigger long-term depression. To understand how to delete the code, you first have to understand how you wrote it. Everything you do is governed by a law called long-term potentiation, LTP. This is the red wire. It follows the rule, neurons that fire together, wire together. Trigger, action, reward. You feel stress, you grab your phone. Stress, phone. Stress, phone. Every time you run this loop, your brain wraps that circuit in a substance called myelin. Think of myelin as electrical insulation. It turns a dirt road into a superhighway. This is why your bad habits feel automatic. The resistance is gone. The signal is too fast. Now, here is where most people crash. Imagine you are trying to stop scrolling. You sit there, staring at the wall, gripping the table, telling yourself, don't pick it up. You are sweating. You are focused on the urge. You think you are fighting the habit, but neurologically, you are reinforcing it. You are keeping the wire hot. You are focusing on the circuit, so the circuit stays alive. To kill the habit, you need the inverse of LTP. You need long-term depression. LTD follows a different rule. Neurons that fire out of sync lose their link. This is your brain's garbage collector. It is the mechanism that weakens synapses that aren't being used efficiently. It strips away the myelin. It slows the signal down until the connection snaps. The only way to trigger this isn't to resist the signal. It's to scramble the frequency. You have to introduce friction so the neurons fire out of sync. When they fall out of sync, the brain tags that circuit as obsolete code and deletes it. So, how do we manually trigger long-term depression? We don't do it by trying harder. We do it by hacking the input signals so the brain is forced to deprioritize the circuit. We are going to deploy 3 neuro interventions. These are arranged in order of difficulty. Intervention 1, synaptic delay. First, we have to look at the chemistry of an urge. When you feel that sudden pull to check your email or grab a cookie, you aren't fighting a personality defect. You are fighting a spike of a neurotransmitter called glutamate. Glutamate is the brain's primary excitatory neurotransmitter. It is the go signal. When the habit loop is triggered, your brain floods the synapse with glutamate, screaming at you to act. But here is the biological reality that most people miss. Glutamate has a half-life. It is a wave. It surges, it peaks, and if, and only if, you do not engage with it, it decays. The feeling of, I need this right now, is chemically unstable. It cannot last forever. It usually lasts between 15 to 90 seconds before the brain begins to reabsorb the chemical. Your goal is not to resist the urge for an hour. That is impossible. Your goal is simply to outlast the spike. You need to delay the action just long enough for the glutamate to metabolize. This is where we apply the 20-second friction law. You must design your environment so that engaging in the bad habit takes 20 seconds longer than it currently does. Let's look at subject A. He sleeps with his phone on his nightstand. Trigger. Alarm goes off. Glutamate spike. Immediate urge to check notifications. Friction. 0 seconds. Result. He acts on the urge during the peak of the spike. The circuit fires. The wire gets thicker. Now, let's apply the intervention. Subject A buys a cheap alarm clock and plugs his phone into a charger in the kitchen. Trigger. Alarm goes off. Glutamate spike. Immediate urge to check notifications. Friction. He has to get out of bed, walk down the hall, and enter the kitchen. This takes roughly 25 seconds. Result. By the time he physically reaches the phone, the glutamate spike has begun to decay. The scream of the urge has turned into a whisper. He has the cognitive space to choose not to unlock it. The circuit failed to fire. LTD begins. Intervention 2. Hippocampal remapping. We tend to think habits are about the object, the cigarette, the video game, the drink. But neuroscience tells us that neurons do not fire in a vacuum. They fire in a context. Your brain has a region called the hippocampus. It is responsible for memory and spatial navigation. The hippocampus acts like a GPS tagger. It doesn't just remember that you smoked, it remembers where you were when you smoked. If you sit on the same corner of the couch every night to scroll through social media, your hippocampus has physically mapped that specific cushion as the scrolling zone. The moment your body hits that texture, the hippocampus signals the basal ganglia to initiate the habit loop. You are not addicted to the phone. You are addicted to the sequence of couch plus phone. To trigger long-term depression, we have to scramble the coordinates. We have to introduce noise into the system so the hippocampus cannot predict the reward. The rule is simple. Never fight a habit in the same location where you built it. If you want to break the loop, you must physically move your body to a neutral zone, where that neural pathway does not exist. Consider subject B. For 10 years, she has drunk her coffee on the back porch and smoked a cigarette. She tries to quit, but every time she steps onto the porch with a mug, the craving is overwhelming. Why? Because the porch is the trigger. To induce LTD, she doesn't stop drinking coffee. She changes the coordinates. New routine. She drinks her morning coffee standing up in the dining room, facing the window. The mechanism. Her hippocampus has no record of smoking in the dining room while standing. The couch smoke circuit is not activated. Result. The craving is significantly weaker because the environmental cue is missing. She is breaking the link between the stimulus coffee and the response smoking by altering the container location. The old neurons on the porch begin to fire out of sync. They lose their link. Intervention 3. Prediction error. This is the most aggressive and effective way to trigger long-term depression. It leverages a concept called reward prediction error. Dopamine is not about pleasure, it is about prediction. Your brain constantly predicts how much reward an action will yield. If the reward is better than expected, you get a positive prediction error. This releases dopamine and strengthens the connection, LTP. If the reward is worse than expected, you get a negative prediction error. Dopamine drops below baseline. When the brain expects a high and gets a 0, it panics. It instantly tags that behavior as useless and initiates the deletion protocol. We are going to use the dopamine void. You are allowed to perform the bad habit. You can eat the junk food. You can scroll the app. But you must remove all other stimuli. You must isolate the habit and strip it of its fun. Subject C loves eating ice cream while watching Netflix. It's a high dopamine cocktail, sugar plus fat plus entertainment. To break this, we apply negative prediction error. The rule: Subject C is allowed to eat the ice cream. But he must do it in the laundry room. No phone, no TV, no music, no talking. He must stand there in the silence and just chew. The experience. Without the distraction of Netflix, the brain is forced to focus solely on the physical sensation of eating. After 3 bites, the sugar becomes cloying. The cold hurts his teeth. He feels bored and slightly ridiculous standing in the laundry room. The result. The brain expected a level 10 dopamine hit, Netflix plus ice cream. It got a level 2 hit, boredom plus sugar. This massive gap, the negative prediction error, signals the brain that this activity is no longer valuable. The outcome. If he does this 3 times, the urge to eat ice cream at night vanishes. The brain has rewritten the code from high reward to waste of energy. The switch flips to off. We often talk about breaking habits, as if we are shattering glass. But looking at the neuroscience of long-term depression, a better analogy is pruning. Your brain is a garden. The habits you hate are just overgrown branches that are stealing resources from the things you actually want to do. Every time you utilize synaptic delay, you are starving the branch. Every time you remap the hippocampus, you are blocking the sun. Every time you force a negative prediction error, you are cutting the root. This is the power of neuroplasticity. It works both ways. You have spent years building these superhighways of bad habits, but you have the biological hardware to dismantle them. But here is the warning. Do not try to prune the whole garden in a day. That is the willpower trap. Pick one habit, just one. Identify the trigger and apply intervention number 1 today. Do not try to fix your whole life in an hour. Flip one switch and watch the lights go out on the old version of you.